Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started. Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan's intense rivalry has captivated the WWE universe for months, as the two have been at loggerheads for quite some time. However, the prolonged saga between the Eradicator and the Women's World Champion has started to lose momentum, succumbing to repetitive storylines on the weekly shows. Initially, the love triangle between Morgan, Ripley, and Dominic Mysterio got a good reception from fans. However, as weeks passed, it became a predictable story of cat and mouse chase with nothing much left to unravel. With weekly repeats of the same angles, Triple H appears to be having major problems with Mommy's recent WWE booking. Below are the 3 reasons why the game needs to fix the Rhea Ripley problem right away. Mommy has been trapped in a vicious loop. Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan have been feuding since April this year. The Judgment Day's betrayal at SummerSlam did add a new layer to their rivalry, but it could not keep its momentum alive. The Ripley-Morgan feud gradually lost its spark when WWE kept repeating similar things every week on Raw. The storyline has become stagnant due to a lack of new things and predictable outcomes. It will not be an exaggeration to say that both superstars have been stuck in a vicious loop. Therefore, WWE needs to move on from this saga and unravel new layers of this storyline. Rhea Ripley needs a fresh direction on Raw. Rhea Ripley has not been involved in a fresh storyline since WrestleMania 40. Ever since April, she has been hunting down Liv Morgan on Raw with an intent to capture the Women's World Championship. However, the Eradicator does not seem to be getting much out of the ongoing storyline. She needs to be competing against stars who can elevate her further in the ring. If Triple H decides to move on from this feud, Mommy could have blockbuster matches against stars like Io Sky and Lyra Valkyria on Raw. As of now, her storyline with Morgan and the Judgment Day has arguably become a roadblock in a fresh direction for the Nightmare. Therefore, the game has to come up with a new idea to end this feud between Morgan and Ripley and give a fresh start to both the stars on Raw. Fans may eventually stop investing in the Eradicator. Currently, Rhea Ripley is one of the most popular stars in WWE. She made a name for herself after her stellar reign as the Women's World Champion. However, the Eradicator has been involved in only one feud, with Liv Morgan, this year, which has been going on for quite some time. The fact that Ripley is embroiled in an everlasting feud with the Miracle Kid could lead to fans losing interest in her. The WWE Universe could eventually stop investing in Mommy's ongoing storyline. Hence, in order to avoid such a creative misstep, the creative team should explore some new layers of Ripley's character. However, before this causes a major disruption among the fans, the game needs to introduce a new aspect in the story of the Eradicator. Triple H sat behind his desk, frustration etched on his face. The endless chatter of WWE's business meetings buzzed in his ear, but his mind was somewhere else, laser-focused on one problem that had ballooned into a potential catastrophe. Rhea Ripley. His hand clenched the armrest of his chair as he replayed the events of the last few weeks. Rhea Ripley had risen to become one of the most dominant forces in WWE. As the reigning Women's World Champion, she was a cornerstone of the Judgment Day, a group that had seized control of Monday Night Raw. Rhea had gained not only the fans' respect but also their fear, something few women in the industry had managed to achieve. She had it all: the charisma, athleticism, and an aura of invincibility. Yet, that aura was exactly what was turning into a problem for Triple H. Ripley's recent actions had begun pushing boundaries, both in and out of the ring. During the last Raw episode, she completely disregarded a major WWE directive, choosing instead to assert her dominance in a way that left management fuming. Not only had she hijacked segments meant for other stars, but she had also physically attacked a referee in an unsanctioned match. The problem wasn't just her rule-breaking, it was the message she was sending to the locker room, that Rhea Ripley answered to no one. The fans were starting to notice, too. While some still cheered for her rebellious nature, others had started to boo, not out of disdain for her character, but because they felt she was overshadowing everyone else on the roster. Some of the other superstars, especially those waiting for their moment to shine, were growing restless. Complaints had poured into Triple H's office, some subtle, others outright confrontational. A locker room divided wasn't something he could afford with Survivor Series looming just around the corner. He leaned back in his chair, exhaling deeply. He had to act now before the situation spiraled further out of control. But how? Ripley was, without a doubt, a megastar. The last thing he wanted was to demote her or strip her of her position. That would send shockwaves throughout the industry, damaging not just her career, but the credibility of the Judgment Day as well. But if he let things go unchecked, WWE's entire women's division might suffer. The knock on the door pulled him from his thoughts. It was Adam Pearce, WWE's on-screen authority figure, but someone who also played a vital role backstage in keeping the talent in line. "You wanted to see me, Hunter?" Pearce asked, closing the door behind him. Triple H motioned for him to sit. "Yeah, we need to talk about Rhea." Pearce sighed. "I figured this was coming." Triple H leaned forward, folding his hands on the desk. "She's gone rogue. If we don't reel her in, this is going to blow up in our faces." Pearce nodded. "It's tricky, though. The fans love her. Even when she pushes the boundaries, they can't get enough. But you're right, if she keeps going at this pace, we'll lose control of the narrative. The other talent is already feeling sidelined." Triple H stared at the wall behind Pearce, where framed photos of WWE legends hung like silent reminders of the legacy he had to protect. "I'm not saying we stop her push, but we need to give her a wake-up call. I've been thinking about adding some real stakes to her reign. Something that forces her to understand the consequences of her actions." Pearce raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "Strip her of some power," Triple H said after a moment. "She's grown too comfortable with her control over the Judgment Day. I say we break that up, at least partially. Have someone challenge her authority within the group. Maybe bring in an enforcer, someone who can make her feel like her place isn't as secure as she thinks." Pearce nodded, considering the idea. "You're thinking someone from within, or a new addition?" "I'm thinking we use Damian Priest. He's got the money in the bank briefcase. He's been lying low for too long. What if we stir the pot? Have him question whether Rhea's power is overshadowing the group's success. It could lead to internal tension, a storyline that fans would eat up, while also bringing Ripley back to reality." Pearce rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "That could work. Priest has the credibility, and he's been playing second fiddle for too long. But if we pit them against each other too soon, it might fracture the Judgment Day before we're ready." "I'm not saying it needs to break up tomorrow," Triple H replied, "but we need to plant the seeds. Make Rhea uncomfortable. She needs to feel the pressure. If we don't, we risk letting her ego run wild. Give her something to worry about. Maybe even have her drop the title briefly, put her in a position where she has to fight to get it back. Show her that she isn't untouchable." Pearce nodded slowly. "But who's credible enough to take the title off her, even temporarily?" Triple H paused, thinking. "We've got a couple of options, but if we really want to make an impact, it has to be someone unexpected. I'm thinking Asuka. She's always been a reliable talent, and she's got the history with Rhea to make it believable. We build it up right, and it could be a shock win that sends Ripley into a downward spiral, forcing her to reassess her role." Pearce grinned. "And meanwhile, Priest could be slowly circling, questioning her every move." "Exactly," Triple H said, a hint of excitement in his voice. "We get Asuka the win at a premium event, Survivor Series maybe. Ripley loses, but in a way that keeps her strong. Then, we pull the trigger on the internal tension with Priest. Have him tease a Money in the Bank cash-in, but on her, not the world champion. It would throw the entire faction into chaos." Pearce stood, clearly invigorated by the plan. "I'll start working on the logistics. This could be the shakeup we need." As Pearce exited the office, Triple H leaned back in his chair once more, the weight of the decision starting to lift from his shoulders. He had a plan, one that would not only solve the Rhea Ripley problem but also propel multiple stars into the spotlight. The WWE Universe loved chaos, and he was about to give it to them. The message to Ripley would be clear: no one, not even the Nightmare, was bigger than WWE. And if she didn't fall in line, the very empire she built could crumble beneath her feet.